In this short segment, we're going to review the testimony of alternate juror number 741. She's one of the people that Holly Miller had made and signed an affidavit for that was never rewritten to come directly from her. Justice Toll had originally said that her testimony would not be allowed, but like egg juror, Dick brought her hoping to sneak her testimony in, and after Becky's testimony, Justice Toll changed her mind and allowed it. Let's get started. This is Legal Updates with Cassidy. If you can't have the egg, go for the alternate. Alex Murdaugh's Evidentiary Hearing, Part 5. Welcome. In one of the hearings or filings, Dick and Jim said that this alternate juror was actually the first person to speak with them about Becky Hill. That's always made me wonder what happened that provoked this, especially because her accusations go beyond anyone else's, including Egg Lady. I've skipped the portion of her walking into the courtroom because it turns out her identity was supposed to have been concealed as well, but she was recorded walking in all the way up to the witness stand. She's the only other person to claim that Becky gave a juror a ride home. Again, I don't know what to believe about that. I know someone is lying, and that I'm glad it wasn't my job to sort out who. I do note that this witness was a bit testy on the stand, and her affidavit was rewritten and signed just the morning of this hearing, which was very suspicious to me. She also didn't seem super familiar with the contents of it. Just like Juror Z, her affidavit was written with extra information to better suit the requirements by Justice Toll on the 16th. Remember that look exchanged between Dick and Juror Z's attorney? Look at that little smirk on his face. And watch him turn around. And who does he look at?
Information was improperly brought to the jury's attention, or whether any outside influence.
And that's what made a lot of us suspect that her testimony might suddenly change, as it did today.
Your Honor, I assume the same rules apply to her that apply to the other jurors in terms of her image appearing?
That's correct. There'll be no photograph made of this particular witness who was an alternate juror in the matter. Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm going to refer to you as Juror 741. It's what we got to do here, so we don't use your name, so people don't know who you are. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
And you and I have met before.
Correct.
I came to your home one Sunday afternoon. I believe you're cooking Sunday dinner, and we talked. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then you were interviewed by SWED.
Correct.
And you gave them a recorded statement. And then this morning you came here and you gave me an affidavit that you signed, and you're here with your lawyer. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I have here the original affidavit that Holly Miller wrote up and signed, and I have this new one that was signed the morning of this hearing. We're going to do a side-by-side comparison. The first accusation is that Becky Hill and the foreperson went in the bathroom to speak, and when they came out, Becky allegedly told the rest of the jurors that they were not allowed to ask the foreperson any questions. This is the same information on both affidavits. In Holly's affidavit, it stated that Becky provided cards from the media during the trial and spoke to them multiple times about media wanting to speak with them. This isn't on the new one. The other thing of note is here. Miss Hill told Juror 741 that no one from the media wanted to interview her. Keeping in mind the other jurors were very clear that there were no media cards passed out until after the verdict. This sounds like a case of hurt feelings. Everyone has different levels of sensitivity. What one person would understand since they didn't have a part in the verdict, another person might feel slighted, left out, disappointed. This obviously bothered her enough to stick with her and to mention to defense when they went to her home. And here's where we see some of the new doctoring of this affidavit. In the original, number 6 says right before the defense put up their case, Miss Hill told the jurors, "Y'all are going to hear things that will throw you all off. Don't let this distract you or mislead you." With the added number 7, after Alex testified, 8 jurors indicated they did not believe his testimony. In this new affidavit, it says before the defense put up their case, Mrs. Hill told the jurors, "The defense is about to do their side. They are going to say things that will try to confuse you. Don't let them confuse you or convince you or throw you off." This is a completely different accusation. I dare say tailor-made to fit the explanation that Justice Toll said her requirement would be. You know, when Dick threw that look to Joe McCulloch, "Hey, pay attention, Joe. This is what your jurors need to say." And naturally, it would be important to him as well for his witnesses. She goes on to say, Mrs. Hill made the above statement, warning that the defense would try to confuse us in the presence of all the jurors, as we had assembled in the same jury room. But it's so odd to me that none of the others said this. Next, we have a very simple statement expanded upon. In the initial, it simply says that juror 544, known as Boston, was very emotional during the trial. But in the new revised one, it says, "If you get emotional, we want to see your face," because that is what they want to see, and claims that this comment was made when all the jurors were assembled in one room. It's a stupid statement. I don't know who wants to see the jurors get emotional. The jurors are the deciders of this case. They themselves are the people that you want to impress. And what's more, they weren't televised. Their faces were not allowed to be seen. So who exactly wanted to see the jurors get emotional? And really, that could go either way. Being emotional doesn't mean a verdict is going either way. So it doesn't even make sense to me. But again, this is the only juror who said this. And then we have a statement that Mrs. Hill also informed us that Alex Murdaugh was going to testify, but I don't recall exactly what she said. And she claims that all jurors were assembled in one room when she said this. In the original affidavit, it simply said that during the visit to Moselle, juror number 826 and redacted name walked to the scene together. Then, juror 826 began walking with the clerk of court, Becky Hill. In the new embellished affidavit, it says during the visit to Moselle, juror 826 and I walked to the scene together. Then juror 826 began walking with the clerk of court, Becky Hill. I could tell they were talking, but I could not hear what was said between them. And now look at this. In this hot-off-the-press affidavit, I also overheard discussions in the jury room that Mrs. Hill drove a juror home. I believe it was the juror whose nickname was redacted. So interesting that none of this ever came up until now. Well, look at this little gem. There were times the jurors were not kept together, but were in 2 separate rooms. Redacted name, which is this juror, noticed jurors talking about the case before deliberations began. Neither she nor redacted name juror 785. Do you remember who 785 is? Egg Lady. Bingo! So neither this juror nor Egg Lady joined in the conversations about Alex. Yeah, Egg Jurors saved it for people outside of the jury. This is very, very interesting. I knew there was a reason that Justice Toll didn't put too much stock in this testimony. Too many inconsistencies, too many embellishments, and this right here. Now my crew all knows that I call my channel the unofficial fan club for Judge Newman. So this one has always bothered me. She says that she believes that Judge Newman came to the room and told her that the jury would have to spend the night at a hotel if they did not have a vote by a certain time, but she doesn't recall what time was the deadline. Judge Newman was an honorable judge. If this happened at all, I've always taken it as him simply notifying the jury that they would be sequestered. Someone has to tell them. It's not a matter of a deadline. It's a matter of they were deliberating. This is the most vulnerable time of a trial. Some jurors are sequestered for the whole length of a trial. That's not very common. A little more common, but still rare, is being sequestered during deliberations. It's more common in larger cases like this, though. So I've never taken this as any kind of misbehavior. Now we have another new embellishment that says before the jury began deliberating, I heard a member of the court say that the deliberations shouldn't take long. I don't remember specifically who made this statement, but it was made in the presence of the entire jury right after closing arguments in the jury room. And this is where I'd seen it before. Juror 741 was the first former juror to provide information that the clerk of court made statements to members of the jury about the evidence presented during the trial prior to jury deliberations. So something upset her. I don't know if it was something that was stated about her in the book, or her friendship with Egg Juror, or what it was. But certainly the rest of the jurors did not agree with any of the statements made in this affidavit. And Justice Toll herself was not influenced by this witness's testimony.
Now, just for purposes of the record, you were a juror, you were selected to be a juror on the State versus Alec Murdaugh murder charge, correct?
Correct.
And you sat in the courtroom for 6 weeks and listened to all the testimony.
Correct.
And you were the alternate.
Correct.
And so when the jury went out to deliberate, you were excused. Is that correct? Now, I'm going to go through a series of questions based on your affidavit, okay?
Okay.
Which you signed this morning, which was based on our initial interview with you and your interview with Sled. This is basically the same thing you told Sled, is that correct?
Correct.
In your affidavit, you say, before the defense put up their case...
Object to leading.
Sir?
Leading.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Thank you. In your affidavit, you said, before the defense put up their case, Ms. Hill told the jurors, quote, the defense is about to do their side. They're going to say things that will try to confuse you. Don't let them confuse you or convince you or throw you off, unquote. Is this true? Did Ms. Hill say that?
That's exactly what she told us.
I'm sorry?
That's exactly what she told us.
Okay. The next thing you say is Ms. Hill made the above statement warning the defense would try to confuse us in the presence of all the jurors as we had assembled in the same jury room. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, y'all were initially in two
We was
jury...
in two separate rooms, and when she came in, we all went in one room.
Okay. Paragraph number 5, Ms. Hill said, if you get emotional, we want to see your face because that is what they want to see. What does that mean?
She said, don't get nervous. Don't be afraid to show your emotions because that's what they want to see.
Who wants to see?
I don't know who she was speaking of. I'm assuming the court.
Okay. And then number 6, Ms. Hill also informed us Alex Murdaugh was going to testify, but I don't recall exactly what she said. All the jurors were assembled in one room when she made that comment.
Exactly.
She told you that Alex Murdaugh was going to testify.
Exactly.
Did you know before that he was going to testify?
I think we knew that he was going to come up. I think he was supposed to do it the day before, but he didn't. And I knew he was going to be the last person that afternoon.
Okay. During the visit to Moselle, juror number 826 and I walked to the scene together. Then juror 826 began walking with the clerk of court, Becky Hill. I could tell they were talking. I could not hear what was said between them. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is what you put in this affidavit truthful?
Yes, sir.
And this is what you told us back in
I don't remember. It's been
August,
months
I
ago.
believe. I think I interrupted you cooking Sunday dinner.
Right.
All right, thank you. Please answer any questions defense may have for you.
Mr. Waters, or Mr. Maddox.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please, Your Honor.
Now his portion makes me nervous because he just won't stand still and he's on and off the camera. I'm going to go ahead and play this out for people who haven't yet watched this testimony. But as for my commentary, it'll end here since I already covered so much going over her affidavits.
Good afternoon, Ms.
Good
741.
afternoon.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
When's the first time you talked to Mr. Harpootlian or Mr. Griffin or any other attorney?
I can't tell you exactly. It's been months. It's probably been September, August. It's been months.
Okay. And were they the first attorney to talk to you, or was there somebody else that talked to you prior to them? Any other attorney?
No, I think he was the first person I talked to.
You sure?
I think. It was so many people trying to call me, and I was trying not to be involved, so I can't quite remember. But he was the first person I'd seen.
First person in person?
Yes.
Okay. So when he came to your house?
Yes.
Mr. Harpootlian came to your house?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, was Miss Holly with him? Holly, do you mind raising your hand? You see Miss Holly?
Yes.
Okay. And was anybody else with him?
Yes. He was.
Mr. Griffin?
Mr. Griffin.
Thank you. And you gave them a statement then, right?
Right.
Okay. And did they record you? I mean, were they audio or video recording you? Did they say we'd like to record this?
No.
They didn't?
But neither did the people that came out. They didn't. I didn't know I was being recorded by them neither.
I'm not trying to fuss.
Oh, okay.
But is there an audio recording of your conversation with them that you know of?
No.
Did they say?
None that I know of. No.
Okay. So you don't remember them saying?
No audio recording. We're required to tell her for recording her under rules. We didn't record her.
He's on cross-examination. Mr. Bass?
Thank you, Your Honor. And at that point, and that was again, do you remember, you said you think, was that around the end of August, 1st of September when they first came and talked to you? Roughly?
Roughly. Okay. I don't want to.
And you told them basically everything that you've told us now, right?
Yes.
Exact same thing?
Exact same thing that I told them.
Nothing less, nothing more?
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Harpootlian, just, and you didn't sign an affidavit back in September or when you talked to him the first time?
No.
And why not?
Because he was just coming out to talk to me. He just was asking questions. It wasn't nothing officially. He had, so.
When you say nothing officially, I don't know what you mean.
He didn't. He was just coming out to ask. He was just asking questions about what went on during the trial. It wasn't.
Well, did they ask you to sign an affidavit that day?
No.
Okay. Did they ask you to sign an affidavit any time right after that?
No.
So they never asked you to sign an affidavit until this week?
No. I was supposed to meet with them a couple of occasions, but I was having my own personal issues and I couldn't come.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
So you told them at this first meeting, back at the end of August, 1st of September, that y'all going to hear some things that will throw you off. Don't let it distract you or mislead you. Is that what you said?
That's what. I didn't say that. That's what the clerk of court told.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what you said to them. I'm sorry. Okay. And where did that take place?
She would always stand like on the outside of the jury room, like in between, like on the outside. She would never really come inside the jury room.
So there were two rooms, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one room, and then the other room separated it, correct?
Right.
And you couldn't hear people talk in the other room, could you?
No, that's why when she came, everybody came in one room.
Okay, so in this comment you said she made, did she bring everybody out in the hallway?
Some people was in the hall. That's why I said she was standing. She was standing right at the head of the door.
Standing at the head of the door.
Right.
Was Mr. Bill there? Your bailiff?
Yeah, he would be standing in the hallway.
He's all out there, right?
Right.
And then she said in front of everybody, the defense is about to do their side. They're going to say things that will confuse you. Don't let them confuse you or convince you or throw you off. She said that to everybody.
She said that to everybody.
So everybody could have heard.
Everybody could hear it.
And you said you were all in the same jury room.
Yeah, we would all be in the same. When she came, she was standing in front of the door with the jury room that I was in, right. And everybody would come over. They would let us know before she came. They'll let us know like after lunch she gonna come talk to y'all, and we all would gather together.
So would you go from the two rooms into one room?
Some would be standing out. She would stand in front of the door. Some would be standing around her outside the door, and some would be in the room. But it was clear enough for us to hear and see her.
And Mr. Harpootlian led you, and Ms. Hill made the above statement warning that the defense would try to confuse us in the presence of all of the jurors as we had assembled in the same jury room.
We was all in the same jury room. She would be on outside the door, and we would be in the room, and someone would be standing beside her. We was always all together when she came.
And do you think that was unusual?
No, because I mean, I guess she didn't want to walk back and forth to room.
No, the fact of what she said. You think that was unusual?
Yeah, I did.
And if you get emotional and see his face, they want people to see your face?
Because some of the jurors was getting emotional, and I guess she noticed it, so she commented on it.
And you said you didn't, the statement he read, she informed you that the defendant was going to testify, but don't recall exactly what was said.
After, I can't.
When was that?
That was, I think he came in that afternoon, like at 2:33. So that was before he testified, I think.
And where was it?
Oh, in the jury room, where we were all, like I said, we were all meet.
And I guess what I'm saying is you're in two different rooms for a while, right? When y'all get up there, you split, don't you? Kind of
Yeah.
Like the people that talk loud in one room and the others in the other one? Pretty much.
No, it's not like that. It was just, they just split it off. They just asked us what room we wanted to go to.
So when you were fixing to come back to the jury room, to the box, you tell us you'd all go into one jury room together?
Only when she came to speak to us.
And Mr. Harpootlian asked you about, I believe, number 7 on the affidavit. And when did you sign this affidavit?
This morning.
And when's the last time you had talked to Mr. Harpootlian?
No, I haven't talked to him since he came to my house.
Are any of them before today?
No, I haven't talked to him since he came to my house.
Talked to anybody else involved in this case before today, since then?
No, he was talking to my lawyer,
Okay, and who was that?
Sean Wilson.
Okay, and when had Sean Wilson talked to you?
He's been my lawyer
Since when?
since 2021.
Okay, when Mr. Wilson talked to you about
This case and what you told Mr. Harpootlian prior to,
All right. They apparently don't object to this, but I am very uncomfortable with your asking what her lawyer told her.
and I won't go into time
I was just looking for timing.
Well, she's told you a couple of times that he was her lawyer since 2021.
Well, see, you're a lawyer for this.
For what you mean for this?
Well, like being a juror.
For being a juror?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't have he was always my lawyer.
You didn't hire him for this.
No, I didn't hire him for this.
But he had talked to Mr. Harpootlian about your affidavit and your testimony today, hadn't he? Is that a yes?
Yes, he was looking over the paperwork. He was looking out for me because he's my attorney.
And when was he looking over the paperwork?
Oh, I guess ever since September, October, I wasn't really keeping up with it, to be honest, because
So do you know if he's talked to Mr. Harpootlian this week?
yeah, he talked to him today.
Talked to him today?
We was together,
Who was together?
me and my lawyer.
And Mr. Harpootlian?
Yes, when I went to go sign the affidavit
Okay. Where'd you sign it?
at his office,
At whose office?
Mr. Harpooper office.
Your Honor.
I was supposed to.
I would object, Mr.
Okay.
This meandering, I mean, there's no jury here, it's you. And I don't know what this is.
How about helping a little bit? I think we got all the information. Yeah, all right. I think he's gonna move on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the last question Mr. Harpootlian asked you about this affidavit, isn't it?
What was the last question?
During the visit to Moselle, Juror 8, say the number, whatever the letter is, it doesn't matter. You saw a juror, and I walked the scene together, then the juror began talking with the clerk of court. I could tell they were talking, but I couldn't hear what they were.
Said between them.
That's
Correct.
the last question he asked you, right?
Correct.
So, and you have no idea what that conversation was about, do you?
No, I don't.
Now, the next, number 8, he didn't ask you about, was I also overheard discussions in the jury room that Miss Hill drove a juror home. I believe it was a juror whose nickname was Boston. Now, he didn't ask you that a minute ago, did he?
No, but
Just yes
okay.
or
No.
And you didn't include that in the first conversation
You had with him back in August and September in this affidavit. Miss Holly did you? You didn't tell him about that.
I can't remember.
Have you seen the affidavit Miss Holly did for you back in September 1st,
Objection, Your Honor.
2022?
Ms. Holly did not do an affidavit. Ms. Holly
She
did
just took
her affidavit, her notes of what this young lady said to her, and what she included and didn't include was based on what Miss Holly thought was relevant at the time, but she can't be
That
cross-examined.
affidavit is not in evidence, Mr. Meadows, so I think you need
We'd
to
offer
move.
it, Your Honor.
Sir?
I'd offer it. Just to get.
Well, how is this thing gonna be authenticated?
You know, even more importantly, he can't question her. I'm sorry.
Several people can't talk at one time. I don't even have the affidavit. Let me see what you're talking. You talking about the one that was just offered today?
This is one Holly did when he first talked to her back in August, and she's referring back to.
Miss Miller. Okay. Miss Miller.
This is Ms. Miller's affidavit about what she thinks this juror said.
Yes.
I'm not going to allow this, Mr. Meta. I don't see a whole lot of difference between this and what's been said in the affidavit that has been offered by Mr. Waters, but I'm not going to allow that.
Okay, thank you.
You did not tell them about,
Hearing that Miss Hill had driven a juror home back when you met with them in September, did you?
I can't remember.
Of course, it knows. I'm sorry. All right.
who is Boston?
She was a juror on the trial. I don't know her, but that was the nickname they gave her. I don't know her first name.
And what, if anything, did you know or convey about Boston?
She was a juror on the case, just like everybody else.
But anything else?
Nothing.
Ma'am?
No.
So again, Mr. Harpootlian didn't ask you, but when you, in the affidavit of today, I also overheard discussions in the jury room that Miss Hill drove a juror home. I believe it was a juror whose nickname was Boston. Is that something was added after your lawyer was with Mr. Harpootlian today?
I don't know if I added it. We talked about it today, but I don't know if I mentioned it in September or not.
That's
But
the
I
first
know
time
it-
you've ever talked about it, wasn't it?
Your Honor,
No, it's not.
no reason to raise objection.
The first thing is, Mr. Meadows, I'm going to caution you one more time about this. You cannot talk over a witness. The second thing is, you don't need to be marching all back around here. You talking only to me, not the jury or anything else. So let's slow down, and this is repetitive of questions that have been asked before. If you want to take this tone with her, I don't know exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
I'm not trying to take Tony. I apologize. She knows that, and I'm sorry.
Well, you're just talking to me.
I'm sorry.
This is not some drama thing for the jury.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry.
let's
It
finish
just-
this thing up.
The only reason I did it, what he hadn't asked about it, and it to me is the key issue here. They're trying to say was different.
Mr. Meadows, I mean, you lecturing to the witness or to me or what? Please don't do that. Strike that from the record, please.
Don't strike. I'm so sorry. I'm
Let's
sorry.
line this up.
I am.
All right.
Uh, in number 9 in the affidavit, that before the jury began deliberating, I heard a member of the court staff say the deliberation shouldn't take long. I don't remember specifically who made it, but it was made in the presence of the entire jury right after closing arguments in the jury room.
Correct.
Then I think you said something, Judge Newman came to see you afterwards, but after the jury went to their room, you were in a separate.
No. When we first left out the courtroom, we all went in the same jury room. And then they separated me.
And Ms. Simpson, I didn't mean to raise my voice.
Oh, that's okay.
I apologize.
That's fine.
But when they started deliberating, were you in a separate room?
Yeah, when they started deliberating.
So you had no involvement in the deliberations or verdict of Richard Alexander Murdaugh at
No,
all,
sir.
did you?
No, sir.
You didn't get to come back to the verdict, did you?
No, sir.
Have you read Miss Hill's book?
No.
Okay. And I noticed your interview.
I did watch it. And I think Mr. Radford back there, you can raise your hand, kind of, Radford, I think came to your place and interviewed you.
Right.
At some point during the trial, I think there was some discussion that somebody might have wanted to do an interview with you.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay, and then after the trial, I think there was some discussion, somebody, since you weren't on the jury, they may not have wanted to interview you. You remember that, roughly telling the officer that?
Yeah, that's not what she said. She came to me roughly in the middle of the trial, and she said, I have a few people who would like to interview. She said she didn't say a few. She said, I have a lot of people that's inquiring to interview with you. She said, but I'll have to get with you after the trial. But after the trial, she came back in the jury room, and she started handing out cards. And she handed everybody cards but me. And she was like, I don't have any cards for you for an interview because no one wants to speak with you. That's what was said.
And did
I mean, you weren't happy with that, were you?
Yes, I was.
You were happy with that?
I don't need to be interviewed.
state court's adult?
To your delight, I'm sure.
Briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Meadows just asked you a series of questions that I'm not sure I've heard before. Who approached you during the trial and indicated the media would want to interview you?
Miss Hill.
Miss Hill?
Miss Hill herself.
Just you or all the jurors?
They had, I think it's the day they had the bomb threat, and I think that was the day. And she approached me.
You?
Me, by myself.
By yourself. And where were you?
That's the day in the lunchroom when they had the bomb threat. We went to the middle school. I believe that was the day.
The middle school. And she came over to you and said what?
That she had some reporters that was reaching out to her that wanted to speak with me.
To you?
Yeah.
Not the whole jury, to you. Was there anybody with you at that time?
No, it was
Did
just
she indicate why they wanted to speak with you? Just you?
No,
Did she indicate what reporters?
no,
And did she ever talk to you about doing interviews with the media after that?
no.
But you indicated she brought some cards at some point?
She brought cards in to hand to the jurors
Before,
after
after
the verdict was read.
cards of media people?
Yes, sir.
Did she tell you she was writing a book?
No,
Did she indicate to you why it might be good for her if you did media interviews?
no.
But she had a conversation with you in the lunchroom of the
I
middle
believe
school.
it was the lunchroom. I
by-
think the day of the bomb threat.
The day
But
of the bomb
I'm
threat.
100% sure she came to me and she told me that in the middle of the trial.
Was there a bailiff with her or just
No,
her?
it was just her.
Pulled you over and said, "Hey, I can make you famous. I can put you on TV."
She said she had media that wanted to talk to me. That's what she said.
Okay. I hyperbolize. I apologize, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
All right, no further questions, Mr. Harpootlian?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. You are excused.